America, all you need is one reason. If you're looking for 100 excuses not to do it, I can give you 100 if you want. But if you're saying, hey, I want my life to change, guys, this is the place. And so a little bit of my story. I was born in our nation's capital called Ottawa. That's where I live right now. And just over 50 years ago. Now, because I'm in the U.S., I say 38 U.S. years ago because there's an exchange working in my favor, but some of you may get that later. But anyway, about 55 years ago. Anyways, and I was put up for adoption right away. And I went from foster home to foster home the first 2 years. And then I was kind of moving north, and I was raised in a place called Timmins. And the only other person you may know from Timmins is Shania Twain. Okay, some of you know country singer. No, some of you getting head. No, some of you do. Okay. Anyways, I grew up. That's where I grew up. My dad was a blue collar worker, was an electrician, and what happened was he was a functioning alcoholic, physical alcoholic. So what happens is that when he get home at night, he took out. I was the frustration person. So he would take out all the abuse on me. So I'd hear things like, I went through the physical abuse, cracked ribs, everything, but I heard things like, you ain't good enough, you'll never amount to anything, you'll never be somebody. I've heard all those things. So all of a sudden I get involved in Primerica. What do you think I start thinking about? Good things happen to other people, good things don't happen to people like me. Does that make sense? And so what I had to do is do a lot of changes. And what I found out is whenever I got away from Primerica's meeting, the world was it was full of toxicity. And every time I came into a Primerica meeting, everybody was positive, they're upbeat, they're high-fiving, they're excited. And I remember they started talking about insurance. I'm going, there's no way they're selling insurance. They're freaking too excited. I got to figure out what they're really selling. You know what I mean? How many of y'all, right? They're high-fiving, they're excited. I'm thinking, and it reminded me of sports in school, right? Because people were excited about winning. And so I remember thinking, I said, and then about in mutual funds, I'm going, there's no way mutual funds, goes up a penny a day. That puts you to sleep. How come they're so excited? But what I realized, and I hope you know this, is people are excited because their lives are changing. That's what it is, right? I know, like you guys got with the football game last night was 49. What is it? San Francisco and Buffalo, right? Was that last night or 2 nights ago? Kansas City. There you go. See, I'm not a football guy, you can tell. But I watched a little bit, coming through the airport, and what I saw was the amount of passion people had. How many know what I'm talking about? See, we go to hockey games, we're the same thing. And it's amazing how passionate we get. Now, let me ask you, like, I'm a season ticket holder of a professional hockey team called the Ottawa Senators. I go to the games. Now, I pay $19,000 a year to go. Okay? I get 2 tickets with great seats. Now, let me ask you a question. When Ottawa wins, it's called the Stanley Cup, kind of like the Super Bowl, but it's for hockey. I'm a season ticket holder. What kind of bonus do you think I get? Hands up for nothing. See, what happens is we get so passionate, excited about somebody winning in their life. And also when it comes to winning in our life, like here, we got to become that passionate as we are watching a football game or a hockey game, but this time it's our life. Does that make sense? Right? And if you can do that, guys, that's what can happen. All right. So just quickly, my story. This is where I grew up. This little apartment here. I was on the 2nd floor. Okay. Dad was an electrician. Then because of the abuse at age 16, I went through I was a big fight, and I had to leave. My life was threatened. And I lived in this little pink house right here, had about 8 rooms for rent. All right. My room was so small. I told people I'd walk out of the room just to change my mind. Okay. That's how small it was. All right. But that was where I went to high school. I graduated, and my grad pictures were $25 back then. $25 to me was a lot of money. So I didn't get a grad picture. All right. That's what it was. So then I left there, and I applied to college in the late 80s, and I got accepted. It took a 3-year business course, but the problem is I only accumulated 13 credit hours after 2.5 years. It was 2 out of 6 per semester, just so you know. Problem is I was working on my people skills till very late in the evening. Some of you figured what I'm talking about, all right? Anyways, I usually where you found me, you know where you found me in college? You found me in the gym. I was either playing hoops, I was working out, I was doing things. That's what I love. All right. Then what happened is I got introduced to this business. A guy that I went to school with, he came and talked to me about the company, but I was the last guy in the class he came and talked to. See, I was the guy that organized the trip for 2 universities and a college to come to Fort Lauderdale in the springtime. Right. I would plan spring breaks. I was kind of planning the party guy. So I can kind of move people. I can recruit people to parties. So I said, well, maybe this is something similar. I wasn't sure. But anyway, what happened was he invited me, but what I did is, and this is what I want to tell you, I thought it was a financial meeting. And so what I did is I stood him up the first 3 times. Now, some of you, how many ever invited somebody and they just stood you up? All right. And you think, why are you going to pester him? What happened is I saw him at school and I couldn't look at him because it became my character issue. My character is I said I was going to do something, I was going to show up, and I didn't show up. Does that make sense? And so he invited me one more time, and I said, you know what, I'm going to show up. And God, I'm so glad that he was persistent. See, some of you wonder, oh, I don't want to bug people. You know what? You just need to be persistent. And you're going to let people know. Say, you know what? I'm going to tell you, I'm going to follow up with you until you either come and say it's absolutely not for me because this is life-changing. You know what? I'm glad he followed up. The amazing thing is he quit 6 months later. He'd be making 60 to 70,000 a month right now if he didn't quit. What's the second lesson tonight? Don't quit. You just don't know that diamond in the rough. You just don't know who's come behind. Does that make sense? You just don't know. And I think sometimes we get in too quick, right? And so that's a second lesson. So anyway, I want to let you know, I just want to share some numbers. And I know Keith said, you know, this is a training class, so I'm not getting into the dream or selling that to you. But I bought into it was really simple. I said, you know, the guy that recruited me, all right, he said, you know, most of we all know the system. Get out of school when you're 23 to 25, work to your 55. How many? And when I grew up, that was high school, by the way. But anyways, when I work to your 60, I'm just joking. When anyways, you work to your 60, 65, you're making 30 grand a year. If you work to your 65, you're making 80. Am I right or wrong? Okay. And all he said is, what if we can do it in 5 years? Hands up, you want to do it in 5. All right. Guys, that was a logical decision to me. He goes, all the headaches we're going to get in 30 years, we'll give it to you in 5. Just take an aspirin or Tylenol, come on in and work with Keith every day. That'll give you a headache. Right? But what I'm saying is collapse everything in 5 years. And guys, that's what I bought into. If you talk to my wife, she'll tell you I'm one of the laziest human beings you ever meet. I don't do nothing. I don't have a toolbox. She has a toolbox. All right. I hire someone to cut our lawn. I don't do anything other than Primerica. All right. That's just, now, hands up, you lazy like me.
Maybe I right.
The other half, you're so lazy you wouldn't put up your hand. Isn't that what you'll answer? You say, all right? All right. It's amazing. So I said, hey, I will give up 5 years to get the freedom. And when Keith and I got into business, this is what was sold to us. Get in this thing, bust your tail for 5 years, you can have the rest of your life off. And then what happens is you got in 5 years, you went, man, I kind of like this. I don't ever want to stop. And that's why, Keith and Daniel, they still keep going. I don't keep going at that rate. All right. But that's the dream, because you know what the purpose in this, the biggest thing is now it's not about the base shop. It's we watch people's lives change, and you can't put a price on that. It's fulfillment. It's rewarding. Seeing someone, their lives change right in front of you. And we know we had nothing to do with it. We believed in them because we believe in our system. We believe in our company. Does that make sense? Okay. So what I want to do is kind of go, hey, let me show you the first 5 years, and then I'm going to just break it down. Really, at the end of the day, if I moved to Fort Myers or, Bonita Beach, is that Bonita Beach or what? Bonita Springs. Yeah. Okay. Or let's call it Naples. That's you to remember. It's one word for me. But yeah, what would I do different today? But anyways, let me share my numbers. When I got into business, I was 22 years of age when I got licensed, 1990. My goal was by the time I was 30, I wanted to make 50 grand a year. Remember when you're 22, what'd you think of 30? Yeah, you peaked. You remember thinking that? Right? And remember, what'd you think of a 55-year-old when you were 22? Right? You look at Keith and me, you're going, that sucker, that's death warmed over. Let's say like 8 o'clock. Shouldn't those guys be in bed getting ready? That's what I remember thinking, right? Now we're different. We reinvent. We're different, okay? You all see the income? First year made 13 grand. How many of y'all say, wow, super success story? I'd follow them. Guys, you know what? That's what most of my part-timers come in that are serious, that apply the discipline that Keith and the leadership tell you. That's what they come in their business and make. They make about 13 grand, 1,000 a month part. With 1,000 a month, would that impact your lifestyle? That's why I think you got to do what, the speaker that did the concept. Which one was that? Oh, sorry, Doris. Okay. That story's got to be told. And every time you sell someone, look what I made for going out and helping a family. Does that make sense? That's what got me. When I see the crusade, here we are, Keith, we're 35 years later. When I see that story you just showed, doesn't that still put a fire under your butt? I don't know if I should say it. Oh, Keith says more than that. So I'm safe in this room, but y'all know that puts a fire under you, right? That blows me away. So second year I made 27 grand. My third year I made 83. How many of you think I was fired up? Let me tell you how my brain was thinking. Remember how I told you how I grew up? When I made 83, I thought that was it. I won the lottery. And I said, with my luck and where I'm from, I'm going to fall back below 50. So my fourth year, I said, I just don't want to fall back below 50. So I worked my tail off. Even when I made 83, I couldn't see 100 because I didn't think a guy from where I came from could make 100,000 a year. Right? I just didn't believe it could happen. I still didn't even believe it could happen. It was like the way the comma hanged. It was just different. You know what I mean? I'm talking. It was just that extra zero. It was like intimidating. And so I just kept working. I kept doing the same things, guys. I was doing my second year and third year. The only difference is this. You know, when you first come into business, term insurance, you know, whole life, it's kind of an idea. You're walking through it and you're hoping it works. That's why I made 13 grand. My second year, I kind of started believing them when I was doing my third year was a conviction. You know what a conviction is? When someone says, well, I kind of want to keep my product my whole life. My facial expression was, I could kill you right now. Right? You ain't going to keep that product. You see, the conviction was different. You with me? My fourth year, the same conviction was about the business. I knew that I knew it was the best thing. There's nothing better out there. And see, sometimes what we do is we come into Primerica, and this is the year 2025. We want it to happen like now. Let's just, I mean, shouldn't I be an RVP? It's been 30 days, right? And it's a process. I say process, but I just want to make sure I'm talking like you Americans do. All right. And then my fifth year, anyways, you saw my fourth year, I made 185. Guys, I'll tell you, to me, I was all the money. The guy that ran our country, we don't have a president. We have something called the prime minister. Back then, he made 125,000. I made 185. I dropped out of college. Do you know I wasn't telling nobody nothing? I figured if the company find out how much money they were paying me and who they hired, they're going to ask for some money back. So I was keeping my money. My mouth was shut. Okay. Fifth year, 229,000. Guys, I'm talking about the little kid that grew up in the pink house, wondered if I was good enough. Parents said I'd never amount to anything. And I'm sitting here telling you that that's how my life changed. And I'm saying, I'm letting you know that you got everything in your power right now to win. My daughter's here. As I said, she's on the other side. Let me tell you what's different. You ready? What I found is what people do today, and I noticed with this next generation, what you do in 30 days used to take us 90. How efficient this generation is, how fast you get things done. Guys, it's incredible. I don't know any other way to describe it. She goes, well, you know, did you think you got in at the right time? I said, I felt like I was in the basement and all we did now is we got the house kind of built. All right. Guys, it's different. We're publicly traded. Look at the stock market. Look how we're performing. Look how efficient. I mean, it's incredible. Does that make sense? Yeah. Right. So anyway, let me just kind of wrap up with a bit of training numbers. And I think I just want to share with you because what changed? And I don't want to be a guy that kind of comes in and just sells my story. I want to say, hey, how bad was it? And I'm not showing you my first 2 years, 1990, 91, because it was bad. All right. But 92, this is how bad it was. You ready? I did 6 recruits all year. How many of y'all think, man, this guy's a future $1 million owner? 6 recruits all year. How many of y'all think you can beat that, honestly? You can probably do it in a month if you want. That was all year. Now, in my defense, Canada was full-time then. We didn't have part-time. So you had to hire full-time. It was just different. Okay. But in 45 cases. Now, our average premium now is what? Here's probably 12 to 1,300 a year. What's our average premium here? 1,000. Okay. Ours was, you can see how small it's like $400 or something like that. I did 39 recruits in my hierarchy. We did 320 cases. So we were field training like crazy, but I cash flowed 78,000. Then you guys call it 1099 or something. I think it was a Hawaii trip back then. They taxed you. So I went to 83 grand or something. So anyways, my upline at the time who was living said, Jim, he goes, you know, you're working, you got the business figured out, but at the end of the day, you kind of look like a 2-legged dog. Now, how many ever seen a 3-legged dog? Kind of like they walk differently, kind of like, you know, shoot him, put him out of his misery. Watch somebody with a 3-legged dog here now. Again, all right. But he goes, but the reason why I'm sharing it with you is I had 2 legs. I had one was working and the other one, and he says, what happens that one leg is going to get wiped out? Your business is going to get wiped out. Now, there was a guy named Hector and there was a few other guys in the company and they talked about hiring directs. And directs are, and this is a training room, right? This is where all the work is. This is where you got to answer all their questions. When they fail their state exam or test, you got to pump them back up, encourage them. You got to be there for them. And that's where all the work is. You know what I found out? Most people don't work that hard. That's where the work is. People say, what would you do today if I was doing it? Guys, I would be zoned in on one thing. I'd be hiring directs. And I would hire them in bunches because I can train them in bunches. right? It's a lot, people say, what's the difference between swimming in 3 feet of water or 30 feet of water? There is no difference. I mean, I'd rather have 30 people instead of 3. So anyways, what I did is I want to share with you, I went out and hired 20 directs. Now, back then in Canada, they had to be full-time, and back then you did not submit the IBA until they passed their provincial or you got a state exam. We'll call it state for this purpose. Okay. So I had 20 directs. I did 89 cases personally. So I was doing 8, 9, 10 cases a month field training because I wanted to get the message. The message is, if I want to build a base, I got to go do it first. I got to build the track record. So if I build the track record, eventually I can get out of the field. Some people love the field. I got a guy named, Giancarlo Giagoni. He's still in the field. He's been in the field for 34 years. Still loves it. He's passionate about it. That's what he wants to do. Is anything wrong with that? No, it's what you're passionate about, right? I wanted to get in and get it done. And so what happened was we did 461 cases. My 4th year in the business, I cash flowed 183. But look at the field training numbers, right? 89 cases. What would that be today? 90,000 of personal premium. That'd be what, about 6,000, 7,000 a month here? Right? And that was field training. Does that make sense where I'm trying to get to? It's just a mindset. All it is you got to say, okay, what does it take? And you're going to see how this all built. Then the next year, I just said, I'm just going to keep doing it. 1994, I went out and hired 33 directs. At that point, we were the #1 base shop in the country. Was usually Mark Yazapovic back then and me were back and forth back in the mid 90s. All right. So what happened was, guys, I did 75,000 personal, which was 86 cases, did 125 recruits. Again, there's full time, so you got to kind of equate that a little differently. We did 785 cases. I cashed for $229,000. How many think I was fired up? Okay. So here's what happened. At the end of 1994, this is what the base shop was. That developed a base shop. This room, what do you have here? This is, I think, a base shop. Maybe there's maybe an RVP or something. I'm not sure. But guys, today, Sean and Jen make $650,000 a year. He makes $400,000. These were guys in my base shop back then. They're all RVPs today. So here's what I'm trying to point. I'm going to turn it over to Keith, right? What I have to do is really simple. If I want to build a hierarchy, I got to build a base. Before I build a base, I got to hire directs. Before I hire directs, what do I got to do? I got to hire direct and I got to field train them. Everybody got it? Trust me, you've heard this probably from Keith 500 times. I'm just the same. I'm a different preacher coming in with a different voice. That makes sense? All right. There ain't nothing new. All right. That's why I can go anywhere. Keith can go anywhere. You're going to hear the same message. It's the truth. This is what we did. But here's what happened. In 1994 to 96, our base is doing 100 apps a month at this point. Then I promote an RVP. I promote an RVP, I take a replacement. Promote an RVP and take a replacement. In 1998, there's where RVPs looked at. 1998. And then what happens today? We just kept promoting RVPs. Everybody see that? And so here's what happens. Today, that organization, we went from that little personal premium doing 6 recruits. Today, we have 163 ring earners that make over 100,000 a year from the same, right? Is that, you with me? So what happens is you look at people, like Keith and Danielle or myself, and you don't know the journey in between. And you're wondering, can it happen? And Keith will tell you guys, we got guys coming in our business now that are like Andy Onstad, just different people. 3 years, 5 years in the business now, going on and making $1 million a year. I can't even relate to them. They're intimidated people like me. I'm going, how did you do it? I'm like, I'm on the slow plan, but I'd rather be on the slow plan than no plan. How many of y'all like that plan? Right? But the message I want to go give you, but just as this is the last part, is this. Don't tell stay in the environment, number one. Even if you don't feel like coming here, you come here. It's life. You know when I have my best workouts? When I say, I don't feel like working out today. I don't feel like going to the gym. And also you can go to the gym, you pump about 9 cups of coffee, and it's amazing what kind of workout you can have. And you go, man, I had a good workout. All right. Grab your coffee, get to the office, stay in the environment, because you don't know. All of a sudden, it's just going to be that one time. Something's going to click. Right? I'll tell you one thing. I know a lot of people that left Primerica because they didn't plug in the environment. I don't know anybody that won and didn't come to the meeting. Nobody. Guys, this is everything. This is life. This is life. So anyways, hope that was helpful. Keith, I'll turn it back over to you guys, and thanks for having me. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Great, Master. You can get better hand than that. That was awesome. Pretty nice, eh? The process. I like that.
I like that.
You gotta look how it's spelled, PRO.
Process. Hey, great stuff, man. You know, I listened to him speak and it's just awesome because in the beginning, the system, mine looked like this: 18, 26, 75, 147. That was my first 4 years in Primerica. And I used to use the example of going to college, right? If you went to college, you know, people say, oh, you know, you don't make a lot of money in the beginning when you go to college. My kids, 75,000, 75,000, 75,000, 75,000 each for education, plus, plus, plus. And what do you get after that? You get a good luck, let them rip. You know, my kids have friends that still can't get a job, which is crazy after a year of school, graduate and still can't find a good job, which is nuts. And then you look at the business where you learn the business from people that are doing the business, which is incredible. And so a couple people asked me about our trip. I just want to take a minute out and share. That was a great message. And I love what you talked about, Doris, too, within the buy term and invest the difference concept. And you look at what we do for people and think about it, behind the numbers, behind all the 163 people that make six figures, their life has changed. But the thousands of people, he said 785 clients, every time you add value for somebody, we get paid. So the more people you help, the more money you make, which is incredible. What I want to do is I just want to kind of share. I just got back from a 2-week trip and I'm home for a week. And then my wife bought me a trip to Dubai, which I think I was involved in paying for. So we're going to Dubai with the family on Monday and we'll be back for 2 weeks with Dubai and then Maldives, which will be cool. And so part of what my goal was, and I used to try to save up money to go to the Jersey Shore. And now you couldn't put a gun to my head to get me to the Jersey Shore. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to just share because I like to play golf. Dude, 41, did anyone get motivated by negative 41 degrees? That's not even shrinkage. That shit just falls off, right? I mean, that's not even, that hurts. 40 minus 41. So look at this. This is Australia. Like, hey, watch your mouth, right? So, and they spelled my name backwards here, but I got to play. I used to caddy when I was a kid, right? And now I got to play in this place that we played here is Royal Melbourne and Kingston Heath, which is where they do the Australian Open and they do the Ryder Cup. And it was just awesome. I'm sitting there, this is the crap I used to watch on TV. And when I was a kid, man, how cool would that be if I could caddy for one of those guys? And now I got guys caddying for me. It was pretty cool. So this was in Australia. I just showed you a little trip. This is in New Zealand right here. These are purple. These aren't pink. These are purple. If you can't play golf good, you just got to look good, right? So it's my OCD. Everything has to match. But doesn't that look fake behind me? Yeah. I'm sitting, I just wanted to friggin' yodel. I was like, yodel, right? Just looking in the back. And this is in Auckland, New Zealand. And then we flew down to Queenstown, which is awesome. And then we did this, which is pretty cool. This is a helicopter. We took a helicopter to the top of the glaciers, which have been around for, I don't know, in the Bible, it says it's been around for a while. But, and then we landed this helicopter. These are some of my old bastard friends. We took the helicopter up here and we landed. He goes, just be careful. Don't go too far because it's some of these, you drop 100 feet down and we can't get you. So, and it looks, I have shorts on here, which is cool, but we did the helicopter ride over these glaciers, which was freaky, right? And my buddy's like, if something goes on wrong, you could fly this thing. I go, I could fly a plane. I can't fly a helicopter. It's two different things. And check this out. We're like 7,000 feet above. It was 30 degrees, but that was Celsius there. Well, checked it. I sent this to my wife and doesn't it look like it's a green screen, like a fake little screen? So this is Auckland. No, this is Queenstown, New Zealand. That's where they filmed. I don't know those movies where the guys are flying around in a broom, whatever, hobbits or whatever. They filmed this part of that in this mountain here, which is kind of cool. And then look at these puppies. I thought this looked like something out of Star Wars. They look like there was 100 of them and they come down. They're called Spivey's or something. And they look like tumbleweeds. He goes, oh, those are Australian tumbleweeds, mate, or whatever. Right. And I kept jumping because I thought it was going to hurt when it hit me. But what was cool is there was like hundreds of them. They were going through the bunkers and up the bunk. I've never seen this crap before. The guy goes, you never seen these? I go, we don't have these in New York City or Florida. Right. So this is pretty cool. These are called spot. But look at these. Watch this. Yeah, they friggin' hurt. Yeah. But what's cool is there was hundreds of them, but they all look like they were computerized or something. Look at that. The caddies are just sitting there like it's no big deal. And then look at this. Then this is on the water. This is the number one golf course in New Zealand we got to play, which is cool. Look at that freaking swing. God bless me. All right. Part of what I want, I'm only kidding. Part of what I want to do is I want to take a few minutes out and tie into what Doris talked about and tie into what Jim talked about. Because the cool thing about our business is it doesn't take talent, it takes tenacity. And you bet your ass, right? But the thing you got to look at in our business is you don't have to be a superstar to be a superstar. You just have to learn the process, right? You've got to learn the terminology. You've got to learn how to ask the right questions. And our business is systematic driven. And so it's a numbers game, just like, and I use this example all the time. We talk about it's a numbers game, even though people aren't numbers. You can't treat people like they're a number, but it's a numbers game. Like if I flip a coin, right, heads or tails, chances are if you flip it 2 or 3 times, you might get heads 3 times or tails 3 times. But if you flip it 1,000 times, you're going to get about 500 heads, 500 tails. Well, if you come up and flip the coin the same way, it's going to be about the same, right? Whether I flip the coin or you flip the coin. The difference is, just like Jim says, you can't quit. You got to keep flipping the coin. You got to get the numbers working for you. And so part of building a super hierarchy is you got to have a builder's mindset. And so it says right here, first personal directs, which is what he talked about. You can control, the only single thing you and I can control is how many guests we have in that meeting tonight, how many people we recruit. And when you put up those numbers, 33 people licensed direct to you is huge, right? That's like someone recruiting 10, 12. Jerome, you have 10 directs in for the month, which is awesome. And find people who want the opportunity rather than desperately need the opportunity. And the reason we use this example is you can't lead people and need people at the same time, but people also want to go out and make successful income. When I started in Primerica, I was making $70,000 a year. And in 1987, $70,000 today is probably like $200 and something thousand. And so when sometimes we look at Primerica, we go, I can find, this guy's broke. He just got out of prison. He's perfect, right? No. What we've got to do is we want to find people that want to go do something special in life, not just need to. It says right here, get more people to come to trainings, old and new. Why? Because what you do is you create leverage in your business. You create leverage in your business. If you had 10 or 12 more people here tonight, then you would have heard 10 or 12 more people would have heard that message. You just saw that example. Maybe would have got enticed to go do something. So if you look at right here, it's a numbers game. The average number of people you have per meeting is what you're going to average in transactions in your base shop. Now, if you've got 1 or 2 people showing up, you could go outright 8, 9, or 10, 12,000 a personal premium. But as your business starts to grow, the averages don't change. And so going through it, it says right here to maximize, what you've got to do is you've got to maximize and take advantage of the earning potential. How do you do that? It says, first of all, you got to go wide. What does that mean? That means you got to build directs. Then you've got to go deep, which means you've got to train and develop people how to build a team, how to build a company within a company. But the key is to do both. Yeah, I heard years ago, you got to go wide. Yes, you've got to go wide, but you've got to go wide and show people how to go wide, which will build depth. Does that make sense? And how you show people how to build wide is by showing people what to do, not just telling them what to do. So what it allows you to do is, I was a huge personal producer for a bunch of years. I don't write any personal business anymore. I haven't for 25 years. But for the first 5 to 10 years, we were the number 1 personal producers in our organization. Why? Because I needed to show people how to do what I was doing. My training used to be like, just do half of what I'm doing. Because everybody has the same 24 hours in their day. And you can make a decision how much time and energy you're going to put in your business. Where I used to work, I couldn't work 15 hours a day if I wanted to. I used to say, can I work overtime? They go, there's no work today. There is no overtime. Primerica, they go, you can recruit as many people, you can set up as many. I go, wait a second. I can work as much as I want here. What I wanted to do is I wanted to work my tail off in the beginning, max this thing out so I could play and live the lifestyle that we live right now. I like to travel. I like to do things. My wife likes to travel. And so it allows us to, if I had a job, I wouldn't be able to do that. Does that make sense? Yes. So if you look at the width, it says width equals profitability, but depth equals security, right? But I can't control the depth. I could influence the depth, but I can control the width. And I use this example. I've got two great children. God willing, they'd get married and have children, and I'll have grandchildren. And then they'll have children, we'll have great grandchildren. My wife and I will not be involved in that process. You with me? I was involved in the first process, I think, right? So no, I'm just kidding. I was drinking. But okay, it says primary objective. Primary objective is to go wide. The second objective is to go deep and train and teach people how to do that, right or wrong. So let's look at it, building principle. And this is what drives people sometimes to get frustrated. Because sometimes you want it more for somebody. It says very simple, you can control the planter, but you can't control the plant. Right? We just bought a farm. And so on the farm right now, there's corn and soybean or whatever. And I said to the guy, well, how much corn gets produced? He goes, as much as that doesn't die. Like, imagine if you plant every piece of corn that they plant, you think all of it lives? No, animals eat some of it dies, right or wrong. Yet they get the same fertilization, they get the same sun, they get the same water. Why does some die? So you can't control the plant, but you can control the planter, how many plants you plant, understanding that not every single one of them is going to make it. So the concept is you got to offer people the opportunity, what they do with it. Listen, the person that recruited him quit. The person that recruited me quit. I ran into that guy. He wanted to kill himself when I saw him. Not physically. Okay, well, he might have wanted to, right? Think about right now, because if they would have only known, but they tapped out too quick. So it says right here, well, you can't see what it says right there. But it says right here, am I doing something wrong? Is it my ink? There we go. What happens is sometimes people make bad choices. And sometimes it's maybe because of lack of money. Sometimes it's because of lack of activity. Sometimes it's lack of a definite business philosophy. It's called panic management. And sometimes we make bad choices. What's crazy is sometimes people go, I can't make because I have to work tonight. Well, why would you work somewhere you were making 10, 12, 15, 18, 20, 25 bucks an hour when you just saw Doris, that example you just used, Doris, you take that person from A to B, show them how to save money where they're already spending it. What would you get paid on that? Over $3,000. It takes about an hour. Now, she's also a vice president. That's an above average transaction. I did a transaction with my daughter a few weeks ago, and I split it with her. She got paid. How much did she get paid on that, babe? 15 grand. She goes, Dad, when are we doing this again? Right? Like the process. Blake was doing an appointment with somebody today, and I was playing golf. I hopped on the Zoom real quick and just to talk to him, but he's going to close a little transaction. He's a regional leader. He goes, Dad, it was 15 minutes. I was on the Zoom. He's closing a sale, I think tomorrow or Thursday or Friday. It's $1,000 a premium. He's at 70%, $700 in an hour and a half. I used to work all week to take home $700. So when you look at right now, what you could get frustrated, but the one thing you can't get frustrated is lack of income, because we write business anytime we want. We get paid every day. Folks, I was away for 2 weeks. I only spoke to my wife 3 times. Every time I called, she goes, what are you doing? I go, you just woke me up. It's 3:30 in the morning. It's like a day and a half ahead there. I left on a Saturday. I got there on Monday. So we didn't speak that much. I was away for 2 weeks. I didn't make one phone call for Primerica. I didn't set up one appointment. I didn't do a conference call. I didn't do a Zoom. I didn't even speak to my family for 2 weeks. I was 2 weeks. The company paid us $325,000 in overrides in 2 weeks. So I just booked another flight to Australia. No, I said, this is crazy. Pretty good, bloke, right? So how does that happen? Because in the beginning, you got to aim at a recruit, and you got to miss with a transaction, right? You got to talk to everybody about offering them an opportunity. Watch this. If you come to my house, we've got, I think I've got $17 million worth of term life insurance, hoping my wife never gets it. Okay, because that means I got to die. We save $250,000 a month in mutual funds. If you sold me that investment, you get paid. I got millions of dollars in mutual funds, millions of dollars in annuities. If I was a client of yours, you'd make a nice commission. But if you overrode me, is that a right word? Overrode? Override? Was to override me, right? Had a financial interest in us, right? You could sell me a life policy one time. You could sell me an investment, right? But if you recruited me, if you recruited Jim Bone and he said, now they're doing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds a week of transactions between life and securities, and he doesn't write business anymore, right? So yes, we're in the sales business. But we're in a sales management business. We're not in the financial services business. We're in the distribution of financial products. And we are the distributors until that process happens, right? Give you an example. Both of these companies today, successful companies, not great for you physically, right? And things are changing in the country, but not great physically for you. But McDonald's sells more beef, more chicken, more eggs than any other company in the United States. Coca-Cola is the #1 soft drink sold in the world. In the world. And it's got like 47 grams of sugar in it. You take it, you're like, is this right? You give it to your kid, they do circles in the backyard, right or wrong? But why do they have more? Because they have more outlets. There's more distribution. There's not one Coke stand in the middle of the desert somewhere and everybody goes to buy a soda. There's not one McDonald's in Jersey City that everybody drives to from all over the world. No matter where you go in the world, you could find Coca-Cola and you can find McDonald's. It's distribution, right or wrong. So the continuous opening of outlets and the volume production per out. So what you've got to do is you got to have outlets. And the bottom line is you and I are outlets. What did I bring to Primerica? I didn't bring my experience. I had none. I didn't bring my money. I had none of that back then. I was making 70 and spending 100. I had credit card debt when I started. I had a negative net worth. I didn't bring my knowledge. I didn't bring anything. Only thing I brought was my energy, my time that I was putting in, and the people that I knew that I could introduce to this business that could introduce people to introduce people. That's our whole business. People go, oh, I don't know a lot of people. Well, who don't you know? And think about it. Social media has eliminated that concern for people. How many on social media? Right? We've got 500, 1,000, 2,000. Some of us have 15,000 people on social media. And those people know people. You ever watch on Facebook and all of a sudden people's picture pop up and it says add as a friend? You're like, who the hell is that? And then you click on it and they're friends with someone I went to high school with. So now well, I don't know that person. I didn't even know the kid in high school too well. But he was friends with a friend of mine that he played basketball with. And people lead you to people all over the world. I was in Australia and I'm talking to somebody and he says, where do you play golf? I go, I play golf at Clues Finds. He goes, you know this guy? I go, do I know this guy? He just texted me. It's like people will lead you to people, right? So what is our business? It's a lot of people doing a little and a few doing a lot. That's Primerica. You go to the convention and you see Willie Naranjo made $7 billion last week, right? And you see these people recruit, and yet there's people in Primerica that are spare time, part-time, don't put in any time, and all of a sudden they'll do 1 or 2 transactions. And the opportunity is for everyone. I'm not a big football fan anymore, but I love watching football this time of year. And but you watch when these teams win, what the first thing they do, Mahomes, when he won the other night, first thing he says, it's not me, it's the team, okay? And what he said is it's every single person plays their part. It's the same thing in our business. But the cool thing is at any time you could elevate. The thing that motivated me big time when I saw this business is the fact that if I wanted to increase my income, I could control it. Do you know how many people have outside forces that control their income? If you wanted to double your income, if any one of our leaders in here wanted to double their income this year, they could double and quadruple their income this year. When I had a job, I used to say, I made the same money 3 years in a row. I used to go to my boss, I need to make more money. He goes, I know, me too. And I go, no, dude, I got to make more money. He goes, Ziggy, let me explain something to you. The more money I pay you, the less money I make. I don't make enough. I'm not giving you any more. You're maxed out. And then I saw this and I said, man, I could do as many appointments. I could recruit as many people. It's unlimited, right? So if you look right here, you got to give everyone the opportunity. You got to provide everyone access to training. And then you got to give everyone examples of success. And the only thing that you and I owe somebody, in my opinion, is that Primerica works and we have a system that works. We're having right now 497 regional vice presidents. We have vice presidents that make 80,000, 70,000, 60,000 that are retired and chill out and don't do anything. And one guy was making $70,000. I said to him one time, "You making $70,000 a year? Why don't you?" He goes, "I used to make 50. I make 70. I don't work. The company pays me $70,000 a year." He goes, "That's more than I would have if I retired as a cop." And I have RVPs like Jim Meyer that I spoke to today that makes 250,000 a month or 220,000 a month and doesn't do business, doesn't have to write business, right? There's tons of people. I think we have 15 people right now, 16 people make over 7 figures. That's crazy. And it's unlimited. And yet you look at what's happening in Primerica right now, just like Jim alluded to, the numbers are mind-boggling, right? Somebody used to make 500,000, they went to 600,000-700,000 in a year. It was like, wow, that's a great. Now there's guys doing that once a quarter, every month. It's unbelievable, right? And so the key is for you is what we've got to do is I use the word leverage a lot. Primerica is a leverage marketing company because it allows us to create leverage. Well, if you want to create leverage in your business, you got to compress timeframes, right? Compress activity. So what does that mean? That means you got to intensify your efforts and you got to speed, right? What speed in a short period of time is key. You've got to condense timeframes. Give you an example. If Jim said, hey man, I recruited 30 directs. Well, if he did that over the next 30 years, there's not condensing timeframes, but he did 30 directs licenses full-time people in 12 months. That's condensing timeframes, right? One person every month for a year is 12 people. 12 people in 30 days, it's still the same 12 people, but the leverage and the synergy and the energy and the combustion that gets going creates a different momentum. Does that make sense? Okay. Expectations. One is you got to use all the Primerica resources. When I say all of them, all of them. All of the tools that the company has, we utilize, and you can utilize them also, right? You got to recruit someone with the purpose of what? Getting them licensed. The only reason to recruit somebody. If someone doesn't have a commitment to get licensed, then what's the purpose of recruiting them? People go, I don't want to waste my time. Let me tell you something. If you're wasting your time, you're wasting my time. I'm not going to waste my time, and I'm not going to waste your time. And so the thing you've got to do is you got to have a goal to get licensed. And if you're going to get licensed, you got to have a goal in the first 30 days to do 3 by 3,000. Because then what we do is we create the position so you can start at a district level, and 1,000 to 1,500 is your first month license. And I know this, and I love what he said about the 13,000. Our first year we made 18. It changed our life. This company paid us $5.3 million last year, right? That was great. We made 5.2 the year before. It's great. But the first year I made $18,000, it changed my life. Because $18,000 got me heading towards out of credit card debt. I started seeing some success. I started saving some money, right? If he made $3.5 million this year and made $4 million, he's not going to get a faster, well, maybe he would, right? You got motorcycles, he's got boats, he's got speedboats, he's like an adrenaline junkie, right? Right? But the fact is, I promise you, when you start making $1,000 or $2,000 a month, it changes your life. And that's what we recruit people to, not the millions of dollars a year, not the $200,000 a year, the $1,000 to $1,500 a month. Your focus should be division leader in the first 2 months of you getting licensed, which you can control that. All you've got to do is recruit a few directs, and they'll recruit a few directs. So let's go through it. Building a team. It says right here, recruit isn't a recruit until they have a recruit. Now, a lot of you've heard this terminology before. What it does is it locks people in. I went to PFSU, not in here, but I went in New Jersey. And I'm just being honest and straight up. I just keep it real. I went with 9 people, and I failed my test the first time. And I failed it the second time. And I cheated. I stole the test, but it was the wrong test, okay? You're not cheating, you're not trying, right? So I didn't steal it. The guy left it, and he left. So I borrowed it, right? But the fact was, I failed the test. And if I was by myself in that class, I might have said, I ain't doing this again. Because I didn't like the way it felt. And I had like 8 other people in the class with me. And they're like, how'd you do? I'm like, no, that's good. We're going to get it next time. Yeah. I was like, holy shit, right? But the fact is, it kind of locked me in to do that. Does that make sense? Right? So you got right here, a person isn't anchored until what? They're trained and licensed. They see that success. You're breathing belief into them. You're showing them the crusade side of what we do. A crusader of buy term and invest a difference. Now, Doris just went through some numbers. But when you're sitting there and that's your aunt or that's your uncle or that's your own policy, you ever drive down the road and you see someone with a flat tire and you go, oh man, that's terrible. Then all of a sudden you hear, while you're driving, it's your flat tire, it's more terrible, right? When you see the numbers and it hits home, it's different. And then what happens is when that person gets recruiting and they can build on their own and they build their confidence, when this starts to happen in their business, that's when a person is anchored. I'm not saying locked in like we got them, right? I'm saying locked in like they get it, right? They get it. I was talking to someone yesterday, and the managers, after the managers meeting, they go, "Yeah, I spoke to this guy, and he's not interested." I said, "No, he doesn't know what we do." He goes, "Yeah, he doesn't get it." If you understood what we did, you'd be in our business. No, I know what you do. I go, "You don't know," because if you knew what I do, you do what I do. Why would you not want to help more people and make more money and have a great lifestyle? People go, "Oh, it's not for me." What part's not for you? Like, which one pisses you off the most? The higher taxes or the more time on your hands, right? Like, what they're saying is, I don't know if I can do it. And I get that. I didn't think I could do it, just like you didn't think you could do it. And then you go at your own pace. There's no speed limit here. You go at your own pace, right? It says right here, a leg is not a leg until it's at least 4 deep. Why? Because that's where you create the leverage. It says the law of average, it says at least one of them will be a producer. The challenge is it's not usually the one you think. Oh, I met this guy, he works at a bank, or I met this young lady, she's really sharp. And I go, what does that mean? Like she has a pointy head? What do you mean she's sharp, right? You don't know who's got what going on inside. You don't know. I was playing golf today, and one of my buddies says to me, starts talking about college and kids' college. He goes, "You didn't go to school." He goes, "I know why you became successful, because you didn't go to college." I said, "Where does that equate?" And he goes, "Well, you had something you had to prove." And in the back of, after he said, I go, "Shut up." I walk away. I go, he's kind of right. Because you know how many times people said to me, "Well, if you didn't go to college, how are you going to become?" So I'll just outwork you. And I think, yeah, but my kids went to college. Okay. So it's not the answer to make money. You got to create leverage, right? So the law of averages right here, you can't control who's going to do what, but nobody can tell you because whether I went to college or not, who has a burning desire inside of them, who wants to do something special. So if you go recruit a few people, what happens is the leverage goes to show you this right here. When you go 4 deep, then somebody's going to pop their head up. Now, sometimes 2 or 3 people might, but a minimum is 1. So when it says right here, recruiting and training wide builds by addition, recruiting and training deep builds by multiplication, but identifying one leader creates what? Progression, right? What it does, it creates progression, because what happens is it starts compounding out. See, when you're influencing this right here, then all of a sudden Darce becomes an RVP, and then Teresa becomes an RVP, and then Luis becomes an RVP, and then Miriam becomes, and Narcissa. And what happens is when that leader pops their head up, then you don't have to put any time and energy into the business. Then you could go spend time and invest time with other people. It's like having kids. It's actually nothing like having kids, but it's like having kids. When you have kids, when your kids are little, you have to make sure, did you brush your teeth? Yes. Every time my kids walk out of bed, did you wash your hands? Smell my hands, right? Like, I don't want to smell your hands if you don't wash it, right? But now, kidding around, every time my wife leaves, I was like, "Did you wash your hands?" She's like, "Would you stop?" Right? But like when the kids were little, that's the stuff you used to say, right or wrong. In the beginning, you have to do all that work with them, and eventually it starts. Now what happens is you have more hours in your day. That's where that leverage comes into play, right or wrong. It's compounding, just like, hey, listen, we do the rule of 72. If you got 12% over here, 6% over here, and 3% over here. And I always go, what's the difference between 3% and 12%? People go 9%. No, it's about 2.5 million. Thanks, brother. But when you look at our business, if you recruit 2, that recruit 2, that recruit true, geometrically, right? It's 32. But if you just recruit 1 more, what's the difference between 2 and 3? It's not 1. It's about 200. It's leverage. You and I can control that. I love what he said. If you ask me, if someone said, what would I have changed about Primerica? I would have quit my job sooner. I would have got securities license sooner. And I would have went wider sooner. Because I could control those things, right? Geometric progression. Watch this. If you have 3 recruits that compound out, what happens is within 6 months, that's 81 people. That leverage that you have in your business can continue to do that. So what you've got to do is the power of a 90-day cycle. So right here, develop a burning desire, set a goal, develop a game plan, use a calendar. I always give people, oh, this is the time of year, right? Everyone's going to lose weight. They're going to exercise. People, I'm going to work out. You did it 2 days in a row and you stopped, right? You're going to exercise. What happens is having a game plan is awesome, but having a schedule is your commitment to yourself, right or wrong. Become a student of business and an expert of what we do, and don't let up for any other reason. You can mess up every part of this thing, but understand our business is a 5-year game plan. I watched him go through his numbers. You know what I saw? 5 years, $250,000, 225,000 of income. Right? That was our business, right? Every single person that worked with me that worked hard for 5 years, they became a regional vice president. Miriam, you guys got frustrated. You made $100,000 with a part-time contract, right? You guys. And all of a sudden, when it's all said and done, 5 years later, RVP making 6 figures. Teresa, same thing. You and Kwame came down here, all of a sudden, worked hard 3 to 5 years, boom, $100,000 RVP. That's our system. Now, the challenge is that was our system. Now we got guys doing that in 12 months. Who is that couple from Texas? They've been in business 4 years at $1 million. No, not any. It's a Spanish couple from Houston, whatever. I wanted to run them over my car when I saw them the other day. I'm like, it's crazy. How many years it took me to make $1 million a year? It took $5 million. Our first time we went over 5 million was 2020 during COVID. We went over $5 million. Went from 4.3 million before COVID. COVID hit. We went to 5 million. People goes, oh, I hated COVID. I loved COVID. It was great. Mask and income. It was unbelievable, right or wrong? Because I had to wear a mask so people couldn't see I was smiling my ass off. But the fact of the matter is, right? Now you got guys in Primerica. So there's guys in Florida on the East Coast right now. Their English is their second language. I did their meeting. The whole meeting's in Spanish. I'm speaking English. 3 minutes later, they respond, right? They're little translators. It's unbelievable. And I did a meeting in January last year, 12 months ago for Willie Naranjo, and they recognized them for going over $5 million. And we were there. Glenn Williams came in, $5 million. We went out to dinner with him that night. 12 months later, he's at 8.4 million. He grew his income 3.4 million in 1 year. I was like, adios mio. I was like, it's crazy. It's crazy to see Miguel. I took a picture with Miguel when he got his future jersey. He's like, can I take a picture? I go, yes. He's like, he's a short guy. I took a picture with Miguel. And then I see him in Hawaii. And I see him, he goes, hey, we took a picture, and he posted something. Guys that you look up to, eventually you're going to be peers with. I said, you still look up to me, dude. You're 5'4", right? So, and I was busting his balls. But now, and that was in Hawaii last February, and he was at $1.9 million or something. He's at $3.4 million. It's unbelievable, the system that we have in the company today. But it's like anything. It's like technology. If you had to call 50 people 30 years ago, you know what you used to have to do? You have to pick up a phone, and it was connected to a wall, and you had to do this shit. Right? And then you have to remember call waiting? Yeah. All this stuff. Now you send out one text message, it goes to everybody. You send out a blast. It's unbelievable. And the same way that has accelerated is the same way you could use the tools to accelerate, but we're still in the people business. Does that make sense? Your belief level runs in direct proportion to your success. So you got to raise your BS, which is your belief system. Does that make sense? All right, guys. We've got month end, which is February. That's Monday, right? February 3rd, which is Monday. So between now and month end, we got to wrap up this month strong. Just want to recognize those of you that had guests. And so we had a challenge for those of you on Zoom or watching on YouTube. We had a challenge with the Zoom tonight for some reason. We have people from all over the country on here too. Sandra, where's Sandra? Had 3 guests tonight. Give her a hand, which is awesome. Jim Bone, new associate. That's awesome. Jerome had a couple guests. Give Jerome a hand. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up Doris Chow. Doris, you want to wrap this up? All right. Maybe she doesn't want to wrap it up. Any questions? Okay, good. First of all, Jim, thank you. Your message was awesome tonight. I appreciate that. Those of you that have guests, we give out chocolate. It's good for the diabetes. It increases it and the sugar. All right. We've got a birthday in the house. Chelsea, when are you going to be 23, young lady?
31st on Friday.
Friday, 23 years old. I remember when you were 2. Crazy. She got a little China now. She still does now. All right. Happy birthday.
Alicia's birthday same day as well. so-
Awesome. Happy birthday, guys. Are we gonna do it in Mandarin or Cantonese? Happy birthday. Some cake?
Where are you going? I looked at it too.